All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for the first trading day of the month for May 1st. Congratulations, because now you're in month. You got a whole new month to start and try to basically earn a nice trading victory for yourself, right? Every month, what we do is we try to think about wiping the slate clean. Doesn't matter if you did exceptionally well so far this year, or if you haven't done well. You kind of have to think of each month as we start it as, as basically a brand new game. I always use the Bill Belichick approach, right? If you know who Bill Belichick is, he's the head coach of the he's head coach of the New England Patriots. He was originally with the New York Giants back in the day and won a couple Super Bowls, helped Bill Parcells. But anyway, let me get to the point is that when he gets interviewed, right, he's won multiple Super Bowls, right? What do they ask him at every press conference after every game? Do you think you're going to make it to the Super Bowl? Do you think that you're going to make it to the playoffs? And he really is, he's a hard person to listen to in the press conferences because he doesn't say much. He's basically like, well, we're going to try to win next week. We're going to win one game at a time. And, if we do that, then we're going to make it to the playoffs. Right. And it's kind of the way I think about trading too, is that new month. And if you win this month, right, you're going to string together a nice profitable year. So that's the main thing to kind of be focused on, in my opinion. Of course, you want to reflect and review what you did, because you have to improve and have to understand where you made mistakes or where you did very well, because you want to capitalize on the things that you did very well and lessen the things that you did not do well at. Very important to take the time and review. So that said, risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving any advice or recommendations. I will go through the themes of the day. I'll go through a couple, things that I think are important, and we'll talk about what we have for Wednesday coming up. And before I do any of that, if you want to be a Tribeca Trade Group member, make sure that you go here. Right, we do a lot of things during the day. One of the things that, a couple of things that we do is in the morning we do a pre-market session where we do go over, things that are moving in the pre-market, what to watch. One of the things that I said this morning was watch the 10 o'clock number, the ISM number. That number jostled the markets a little bit. And then, after the pre-market session, I do give, a midday note too, where I highlight those themes, as well as what our watch list is doing that we put together over the weekend, what my trading positions are doing, and other charts that are of interest to me. And I'm trying to make that really quick for members, because I know that many people are going back to work these days. So here's what the email looks like that that I'm sending right now. Themes, which I'm going to go over with you, positions, watch lists, right? And then, most important things, I thought interest rates moving a lot today was one of the major factors. I actually had that as the first chart that I was watching, and then I'll go through a couple of these setups with you guys. But yes, go to TribecaTradeGroup.com and you can sign up to be a member. So yes, interest rate. So this is kind of what happened for the day. It was kind of overnight market was very quiet coming into today. And it just looks like we're kind of waiting a little bit as we get through the beginning of the month. Here were the economics that came out at 10 o'clock. I think the number that was really startling was this ISM prices paid number. Could indicate, I don't think that that's like a major gauge of inflation that people are looking at, but it was a lot higher than expected. So what happened after this number came out this morning? Well, interest rates really started to move, and you could look at this in TLT, or you could look at any bond future. But you could see the 30-year bonds futures, like this could be a head and shoulders top that you're dealing with over here. So I would really watch to see if this continues to kind of move lower. Why is this important? Right, if we're just mainly trading equities and not bonds, because interest rates, if their fluctuations are large, and if the velocity of the fluctuations that happening are quick, then you may see some type of impact in equity prices. If this kind of just chops along and stays in a range, then it won't really affect equities too much, right? But in higher interest rates, moving faster as we saw, last year when the market's moving like this, yes, it will affect it. It usually, I don't know, there's nothing 100% certain, but it will affect. So it was a big day today, down 1.5%. TLT was down 2.9%. It did go ex dividend today, but still, this factors in the dividends, and this also looks like it's starting to kind of move lower here. So something to keep an eye. And then, of course, the other thing that moved on that economic data right at 10 o'clock was the dollar, right? Those are two of the things to kind of macro base to kind of keep an eye on. If you're mainly trading equities, right? These are the things that will sometimes cause some issues. So that was kind of up 0.5%. Again, it's not that big of a move yet, but these are things that you want to keep an eye on, right? And what do I do when this happens? When I see interest rates that are really starting to move and move higher like they did today, I just back off trading a little bit. Same thing with market breadth, which you could see on the bottom left of your screen, right? The market breadth just kind of like, it wasn't horrible for the day, but it just kind of got a little bit worse, right? So this is for the whole market, by the way. This isn't for anything security based, but here's, for example, like what happened last week, right? Thursday, Friday, and then today you could see it kind of open up positive, but kind of drifted negative. Again, not heavy negative, but not the best looking breadth for the day. All right. So, and all of this, it could be, markets might be a little bit apprehensive to make a big move until we really get the Fed meeting done for the week. I think, while the earnings are very interesting that we're getting, we've got a couple interesting reports after the close today, and we'll get a bunch more tomorrow as well. But for the overall market, it's going to be this Fed meeting on Wednesday, right? And of course, I had a nice midday webinar that I did with someone today, and we were saying we were saying that even if everything that's going to happen in some of these Fed meetings, you may still not get the market reaction correct. And by the way, that the webinar was with Julia Cordova, so she's great. Check it out. I'll retweet that later, and we talked a little bit about the Fed. But yeah, I mean, as always, it's going to be really what happens in the press conference, right? At this point, just to give you a viewpoint of this, and then we'll move on to some stock charts. But they're fully pricing in 25 basis points. So again, I mentioned this to somebody on Twitter because I don't mind helping out, but somebody said to me like, oh well, if they raise interest rates, it's going to be a big effect. No, that's wrong. Listen, it's not 100%. What I'm telling you is not 100% guaranteed, but the market is already pricing in 25 basis points. That's going to happen. What is really more important, and again, I'll say in my opinion, because I don't know for fact, but what's really important is what they're going to do after this. Are they going to give you some type of guidance that says that they're going to really slow down, and there's a good chance that this is it, right? The markets might like that. If Powell comes out and says, well, I don't know, we're going to have to wait and see, then, regarding the future, after they do the 25 basis points on Wednesday, if he gives some type of answer like that, where it doesn't really give the market any type of guidance, then the market may not like that, because we're still kind of in the same spot that we've been in the previous meeting. So at this point, I think the market's looking for Powell to say, hey, we've kind of gone far enough. Let's wait and see how these interest rates are having an effect, because there is a lag when they raise interest rates, right? It takes a few months for them to kind of kick in, right, in terms of all the effects. So if he says something like that to the effect that they're going to pause and wait to see what the effects are, market might like that. Okay, but if he does what he did last time, my guess is that then you might see more of what we're seeing, which is chop, right? So let's talk about that. Even though the indices finished just a little bit lower for the day, SPY was down just 10 basis points, somewhere in there. I'm just checking my numbers. Sometimes the spreadsheet and IWM actually squeaked out a gain today, but just barely, but not a lot of movement, right? Again, the VIX is at a 16, right? Again, why is the VIX so low? Because look at the numbers again. right? SPY moving in a 20 basis point range today is nothing. That's really low volatility. So does the VIX, I've been trying to communicate this a little bit more in this video, but does the VIX back up the price action that we're getting? I would say absolutely. We're not moving very fast, right? So let's bring up the S&P chart and I'll give you some levels to watch here. But yeah, when we move 20 basis points in a day, now granted, we started to pick up, the move started to pick up a bit last week, but we haven't gone anywhere really in a month, up or down 1% isn't going to make the VIX move, guys. I'm sorry. It's not a fear index. It's just telling you about short-term volatility, of which we haven't really had a lot. All right. So a level to watch. We did open up the month, both S&P and the Qs, above the new May value area. So, this is a tough looking candle for the day. But I would watch this 41.73. Right, and similarly for the Qs, which didn't have quite as much movement, I guess, 319.70, right, is the level to watch for the Qs. Again, we opened up, here's the channel that we were in. It was like the channel of death for a little while, but we bounced out of that and we're above value. Right, sectors that were hot today. Well, biotech once again on M&A, right? Especially this XBI ETF, which is equally weighted, so that there's a lot of small cap names in here. Loves when there's a deal in biotech. So this was your best performing group, up 2.3%. And I think that this is a really messy looking chart. I'm interested in biotech, but I would like to see it really. Last time it got rejected a bit at the 200-day moving average. It sank back down and is challenging that again. It looks a little bit more clear on the weekly chart. It held support, but overall inside value for the year, right, which is basically sideways. And then IBB is something that I'm watching too, right? IBB also a couple weeks ago got to the top of the value area. Let's bring up this weekly chart. And so I'm watching this 134.07 level, and I think that has a decent chance to get above that 200 period moving average and break above here. So definitely a sector I'm watching, right? If you're a regular viewer of my videos, you know that I've been talking about like B&B, which is not Airbnb or anything like that, but biotech and builders, because those acted the best in April. So what did the builders do today? Well, the builders don't like higher interest rates, so they kind of backed off a little bit. They underperformed a bit, which is fine. I started a position in this ITB on Friday just to kind of, get my feet wet in terms of putting on a position. But this is something, the trend is intact here, right? This is your best performing group. I believe it's your best performing group this year is the home builders, right? They're trading above the value area. They've had pretty good results. We had a couple names after hours that reported not builders per se, but kind of involved a little bit in housing. This is Terex, had good results. Maybe this chart will now shape up a little bit, right? This was such a strong name back in here. It's kind of fallen apart. Maybe you can get back above the 50-day moving average here, right? Another name too, somewhat housing related, is Leggett and Platt. Clearly not one of the better names, but this also had decent numbers. They built furniture, I believe. All right, so that's a couple names. I know Arista Networks reported after the close. I think the expectations from what I was reading were a little bit too high. This name's down to 149, so something to watch, see what they say on their earnings call, but they are trading down on that report, trading down about $11 on that report. All right, one name I'm watching for tomorrow, I put on a small earnings play, is INMD. ISRG had really good earnings a couple of weeks back, right? This is a smaller name that's been trading sideways for a while. So there's no weekly options for this, May options, which are fine. And we'll see if this can maybe get out of the base for this one. All right. Other names for the here's just a spreadsheet that ranks the that I just sorted for the names that performed best today. NVIDIA, like the AI names, whenever just a little trick that I've noticed recently is that whenever there's an AI theme of the day, when you see a couple of those names get going, I always gravitate towards NVIDIA. That's my AI play. This was going sideways for for about the whole month of April, and now broke higher. So we're getting very close to my price target, which is 300. That's what I'm looking for, which is only $10 away. So I re-entered this trade. I had taken the trade off when it was kind of losing steam here, losing momentum. But that's been a name that we talked about, towards the end of last week. So put this trade on for 280. I think it closed at 289. I took another target here at 286. And again, I'm happy to add back if it has like some type of an inside day. Have to leave yourself some flexibility in this market. As we mentioned, breadth has not been great. Or breadth was not great today. Also, one other thing, I know I'm all over the place today, but again, like this is not a big trading day for me. I got rid of FNV for small profits today because that name reports not tomorrow, but I think on Wednesday. I took a small starter in AXON. All right, we'll see if this name can get above the 50-day moving average. If it can't, then that will remain a starter and probably get unwound. All right, but we'll see if this can kind of retake the trend for the day, and that's it. That's really all I did today. I got out of a small position in not regular size position in Alibaba today. Again, just not wanting to really get too exposed with that meeting, the Fed meeting that we have on Wednesday. What I like to do, at least once a week, actually a couple times a week, is to check in on 52-week highs. One thing that's interesting is we are seeing more 52-week highs. These, I think, are 4-week highs, right? You could see from my my screen that I have here for breadth, and I'll just bring up the S&P, but there was 52 new week highs for the S&P, only one that made a 52-week low. So that's good to see that. And if you look through this name, I sent this list out earlier, and some people were surprised at some of the names. And I was actually surprised at that because, there's some names like Orly, right? These have been the themes so far this year. Orly, which is auto. Some biotech names in there: Lilly, Biogen, medical devices, ISRG, right? Then you have some consumer discretionary. Restaurants have been strong, like the casual restaurants, fast food, if you want to call them that. McDonald's is in there, Yum is in there, Starbucks is in there. And then you've got consumer staples, right? This is something that we went over in the weekend video, right? Consumer staples are one of the strongest areas right now, right? Hershey's made a new 52-week high today, right? CLX, which I sent out this name last week, right, in our Substack. But this group, you can make money in this group. It is what it is, right? If these names are going to go higher and they're going to do it with some velocity to them, right, you can make money in these things. All right, very interesting, right? That they are acting this well. And even some of these names like Twinkies, right, had a big day, and Donut, right? I think Krispy Kreme. Well, Krispy Kreme actually got rejected, so look at that. But I would go with the American Eater, to be honest. Right? It is what it is, right? People like to go out into the casual dining type restaurants, but these are the themes that we have this year, right? And the builders weren't on the list today because they didn't participate. But LIN, you've got a couple material names in there too, right? You've got what do you call it? LW, which is Lamb Weston. I was going to say Lamb Weston, right? Which is another name. So this is what we have so far this year. So I would say be patient until we get the Fed meeting away, and really one of the themes that I talked about coming into this month is watch your risk, right? There are some good trading opportunities out there, but you can't own every name in this market. The breadth just isn't strong enough. Celsius had a big day, right? I really like this Nike chart, right? Even though I've already taken a couple targets in my swing trade, it closed right around 128. Right, and you can see this is starting to kind of resolve itself higher. So if it gets out of this area, then maybe we'll start to see this name gravitate up to 143. DraftKings, right? This is another name that reports earnings. But this is leaning higher, right? This was a name that I owned. I took profits at. I didn't think it was going to be able to get over this virgin point of control, but it came in here to the 20. And it did what names and uptrends do. It bounced at the 20 and kept going. Also a quieter name, but moving quite nicely. Same thing. Took out a VPOC. I took targets here, moved back to the 20-day moving average, and is challenging that level again, right? So this is our watch list that we put together. It's all linked to Bloomberg API. And notice that I've kind of put some enhancements in here, right? Percent change for the day, which in video, I got the managed to get the best one on the list today. And then from our trigger, right? So I give, levels to watch that basically trigger, which is, we're looking at multiple time frame analysis. So once it breaks out of a particular value area, that's the trigger. So I've got percentage change for the day, plus the percentage change from the trigger. All right, guys, that's it. That's enough for today's video, first video of the week. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.